The dirt hit the small casket with a sound I'll never forget, like rain on a tin roof, but final, permanent. I stood there in my black suit watching my 5-year-old son Tommy disappear beneath the earth while strangers offered condolences I couldn't hear through the ringing in my ears. That's when my phone buzzed. Sorry, important business meeting. Can't make it. We'll call later. Jessica, my wife, texting me from Hawaii while I buried our son alone. The mourners shifted uncomfortably. Mrs. Patterson from next door squeezed my shoulder. Where's Jessica, dear? Shouldn't she be here? I pocketed the phone without answering. What was I supposed to say? That my wife of 8 years was sipping Mai Tais with her personal trainer while our boy went into the ground? That she'd booked the trip 3 months ago, right after Tommy's diagnosis got worse? She's handling arrangements, I lied, my voice hoarse from crying and shouting and pleading with God for answers that never came. The funeral director, a thin man named Morrison, approached with paperwork. Death certificates, insurance forms, the business of death that follows the grief like vultures. Mr. Thompson, I'm so sorry for your loss. If there's anything, just send me the bill. I cut him off. The crowd dispersed slowly. Friends from work, neighbors, Jessica's sister Karen, who kept asking where Jessica was until I told her to drop it. By sunset, I stood alone beside the fresh grave, loosening my tie in the humid September air. My phone rang. Jessica's number. David, oh honey, I'm so sorry I missed it. The meeting ran long and... Stop. The word came out like a gunshot. Just stop talking. David, I know you're upset, but this client is huge for us. The consulting firm. Our son is dead, Jessica, dead. And you're worried about consulting fees? Silence stretched across the Pacific. Then, you know I love Tommy, but life goes on. We have to think about our future now. Our future. Home? I asked. Friday, maybe Saturday home? I asked. Friday. Maybe Saturday. The client wants to extend... I hung up. The drive home took 20 minutes through streets I'd known my whole life. Past the elementary school Tommy would have attended. Past the park where we'd planned to teach him to ride a bike. Past the ice cream shop where he'd thrown his last tantrum just 2 weeks before the accident. The accident. That's what everyone called it. Freak thing. Healthy 5-year-old just collapsed at daycare. Heart stopped. Paramedics couldn't revive him. These things happen, the doctor said. Sometimes kids just stop. But I'm a detective, have been for 12 years with the Portland Police Bureau, and detectives don't believe in coincidences. I pulled into our driveway and sat in the car, staring at the dark house. Jessica had left every light off when she departed for her business trip 4 days ago. The day after Tommy's funeral was scheduled. The day she knew I'd need her most. Inside, the sounds felt different. Not just quiet, empty. Tommy's toys still scattered across the living room floor. His sippy cup on the coffee table half full of apple juice. Jessica hadn't touched anything before leaving. I walked to Tommy's room and stood in the doorway. Race car bed. Walls covered with dinosaur stickers. Clothes laid out for a day that would never come. The smell of baby shampoo and crayons hung in the air like a ghost. My phone buzzed again. A text from my partner, Detective Sarah Mills. How you holding up? Need anything? I typed back, I'm fine, thanks for coming today. Call if you need to talk. Jessica get back okay? I stared at the question for a long time before responding. She's still in Hawaii. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, Jesus, Dave, I'm sorry. I poured 3 fingers of bourbon and sat at the kitchen table where Tommy used to eat his cereal every morning. Cheerios. Always Cheerios. Never anything else. The box was still on the counter, nearly empty. That's when I noticed the envelope. It was tucked under a stack of sympathy cards, business size and official looking. The return address made my blood freeze. Pacific Life Insurance Company. Inside was a claim form for a life insurance policy on Tommy. $500,000. Beneficiary, Jessica Marie Thompson. I'd never seen this policy before. Never signed anything. Never agreed to insure my 5-year-old son for $500,000. But there was my signature at the bottom, or something that looked like my signature. I called Pacific Life. Their customer service was closed, but their automated system confirmed the policy number and payout amount. Policy purchased 6 months ago. Premium paid in full. 6 months ago, right around the time Jessica started working late. Right around the time she joined that expensive gym. right around the time she started talking about new opportunities and fresh starts. My hands shook as dialed another number. Ramirez Investigations, this is Tony. Tony, it's Dave Thompson, Portland PD. Dave, man, I'm sorry about your boy. Heard it on the scanner. Terrible thing. I need a favor, Tony. Off the books. Name it. I need you to run a background check on my wife. Full workup. Financial records, travel history, communications if you can get them. Long pause. Dave, you sure about this? Grief makes people... She took out a life insurance policy on Tommy without telling me. $500,000. She's in Hawaii right now instead of at his funeral. Crap. Okay. Give me 48 hours. I hung up and poured another bourbon. Outside, the neighborhood settled into evening routines. Porch lights flickering on. We need to talk about money. The funeral, we need to talk about money. The funeral expenses, the medical bills. We have insurance. Not that kind of money. I'm talking about moving forward. Starting over. Maybe selling the house. Getting something smaller. Tommy's been dead for 6 days, Jessica. And I'm trying to be practical. Someone has to think about these things. Someone has to grieve. I am grieving, but I'm also trying to make sure we don't lose everything. The line went quiet except for the sound of waves in the background. Waves and steel drums and laughter. Where are you right now? I asked. The hotel, in my room. Bees, I can hear a party. David, who are you with, Jessica? Clients. It's a business dinner. At 9 o'clock Hawaii time? On a beach? Click. She hung up. I sat there, holding the dead phone, staring at Tommy's empty chair across from me. His booster seat still strapped in place. His favorite cup with the cartoon dinosaurs. That's when I noticed something else. The apple juice in Tommy's sippy cup had separated. A clear layer on top, darker on the bottom. I'd never seen apple juice do that before. I unscrewed the lid and sniffed. Sweet apple scent, but underneath something else. Something chemical and sharp. My detective instincts kicked in. I sealed the cup in a plastic bag and put it in the refrigerator. Evidence. Maybe nothing, but maybe everything. The bourbon was making me dizzy, but my mind was clearing. Jessica's absence, the insurance policy, the strange smell in Tommy's juice, the timing of her trip. I pulled out my laptop and started searching. Flight records were public if you knew where to look. Hotel reservations left digital footprints. Credit card transactions told stories. By midnight, I had a timeline. Jessica's flight to Honolulu departed the day after Tommy died. But the reservation was made 3 months earlier. The hotel booking even older. She'd planned this trip before Tommy got sick, before he died, before she knew she'd be missing his funeral, unless she did know. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Saw the news about your boy. So sorry. Jessica mentioned the trip was planned months ago. Hope you're okay. Marcus. Jessica's personal trainer. The one she'd been working with 3 times a week for the past 6 months. The one who looked like a movie star and drove a Corvette and always seemed to text her at odd hours. I Googled him. Marcus Webb. Certified trainer, fitness model, Instagram full of shirtless photos and motivational quotes. And pictures of Hawaii. Lots of pictures of Hawaii dating back years. The same hotel where Jessica was staying. I screenshot everything and sent it to Tony Ramirez, then poured one more bourbon and went to bed in Tommy's room, surrounded by dinosaurs and the fading smell of my dead son. Tomorrow I'd start digging. Tonight I'd just lie here and remember bedtime stories and goodnight kisses, and the sound of little feet running down the hallway. The sound I'd never hear again. Tony Ramirez called at 7 a.m. sharp. I'd been awake for hours, staring at the ceiling and listening to the neighbors get ready for work. Normal Tuesday morning sounds that felt like they belonged to someone else's life. Dave, you sitting down? Just tell me. Your wife's been planning this for months. Hotel reservations, flight bookings, even restaurant reservations. All coordinated with Marcus Webb's schedule. They've got adjoining rooms at the Maui Grand Resort. I closed my eyes. How long? Best I can tell, 6 months, maybe longer. Started right around the time she bought that life insurance policy. What about finances? That's where it gets interesting. She's been moving money. Small amounts, nothing that would trigger alerts, but it adds up. Separate account at First National. About $40,000 accumulated over the past year. $40,000. Jessica made decent money as a consultant, but not enough to hide that kind of cash without me noticing. Unless she was skimming from somewhere else. Tony, I need you to check something else. Tommy's daycare records, specifically what he ate and drank in the days before he died. Dave, what are you thinking? I'm thinking my wife eliminated my son. The words hung in the air like smoke. Saying them out loud made them real in a way that thinking them hadn't. Jesus, Dave, I found his sippy cup. The juice smells wrong, and the timing of everything, it's too convenient. You want me to look into the daycare? Everything. Who had access to his food, his drinks, security cameras if they have them, staff schedules. I want to know everyone who came within 10 feet of my boy in his last week. I'm on it. Dave, be careful. If you're right about this and she finds out you're investigating, she's 3,000 miles away screwing her trainer. I think I'm safe for now. After Tony hung up, I called in sick to work and drove to Tommy's daycare, Little Sprouts Learning Center, a cheerful place with finger paintings on the walls and the perpetual smell of graham crackers and disinfectant. The director, Mrs. Chen, met me in her office. She was a kind woman in her 50s who'd always remembered Tommy's name and asked about his dinosaur obsession. Mr. Thompson, I'm so sorry for your loss. Tommy was such a bright little boy. Thank you. I wanted to ask about his last few days here. Was there anything unusual? Anyone who visited or... Actually, yes, your wife stopped by several times that week, which was unusual because you normally handled pickup and drop-off. My heart rate spiked. What days? Mrs. Chen checked her logbook. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The Friday before it happened. What did she do when she visited? She brought Tommy special snacks. Said she wanted to make sure he was eating healthy. Apple juice boxes, those organic ones, and she stayed for lunch on Friday. Did Tommy eat or drink anything she brought? Oh yes, he loved those juice boxes, drank them right up. I felt sick. Mrs. Chen, do you still have any of those juice boxes? I don't think so. We clean out the refrigerator every Friday, but she'd paused, thinking, there might be one in Tommy's cubby. He always saved things. She led me to the children's area, past tiny tables and chairs, past artwork with Tommy's name written in crayon. Sippy cup at home. Can I take this? I sippy cup at home. Can I take this? I asked. Of course. Is everything all right? I hope not, I said, then caught myself. I hope so. Thank you, Mrs. Chen. Back in my car, I called the medical examiner's office. Dr. Patricia Vance had performed Tommy's autopsy. We'd worked together on dozens of cases over the years. Dave, I was hoping you'd call. I've been reviewing Tommy's case. And there are some inconsistencies. His blood work shows elevated levels of ethylene glycol. What's that? Antifreeze. In small doses, it can cause the kind of cardiac episode Tommy experienced. The world tilted. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. How small a dose? For a child Tommy's size, just a few teaspoons mixed into something sweet would be enough. The apple juice in his system would mask the taste. Pat, I need you to test something for me. I told her about the juice box, the sippy cup, Jessica's visits to the daycare. Dave, what you're suggesting, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm asking for lab work. Bring them in. I'll run a full analysis. The drive to the medical examiner's office took 15 minutes through downtown Portland. I'd made this trip hundreds of times as a cop, but never as a sufferer's father, never as someone seeking justice for his own child. Dr. Vance met me at the loading dock, away from prying eyes. How long for results? I asked, handing over the evidence. 24 hours for preliminary, 48 for confirmation. And if you find what I think you're going to find, then we reopen the case as a homicide investigation. I drove home through streets that looked different now. Sharper, more dangerous, the kind of place where mothers poison their children for insurance money. My phone rang. Jessica. David, I've been thinking, when I get home, maybe we should see a counselor, grief counseling, to help us work through this together. Together, I repeated. Yes, we're both hurting, and I know I haven't been as supportive as I should have been. But we can get through this. How's Marcus? Silence, then what? Marcus Webb, your personal trainer, the one you're in Hawaii with. I don't know what you're talking about. Adjoining hotel rooms, dinner reservations for 2, 6 months of planning. Should I go on? David, you're grieving. You're not thinking clearly. I'm thinking more clearly than I have in months. Come home, Jessica. We need to talk. I can't. The meetings. Come home now, or I'm filing a missing person report. Tell the police my wife disappeared right after our son's suspicious passing. Long pause. Suspicious? The medical examiner found some interesting things in Tommy's blood work. Thought you should know. I hung up before she could respond. An hour later, Tony called back. Dave, you're not going to believe this. I ran Marcus Webb's financials. Guy's broke, owes money all over town. Gym membership fees, car payments, credit cards. He's about 6 months from bankruptcy. How much does he owe? North of 200 grand. And get this, he's been researching life insurance payouts. Internet searches going back months. The pieces were falling into place like dominoes. Jessica and Marcus planning together, the insurance policy, the poisoned juice boxes. Tommy's end wasn't random, it was homicide. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. Flying home tomorrow. We'll work this out. I texted back, looking forward to it. But I wasn't planning to work anything out. I was planning to destroy them both. I spent the rest of the day gathering evidence. Bank records, phone logs, travel receipts. Building a case the way I'd been trained. Methodical. Thorough. Unbreakable. By evening, I had enough to arrest them both, but arrests meant lawyers and plea bargains and the possibility they'd get away with it. Rich people eliminated their kids all the time and walked free. I wanted something more permanent. I wanted justice. Jessica's flight landed at PDX at 3:17 p.m. on Thursday. I know because I checked the arrivals board obsessively, sitting in the cell phone lot with a thermos of coffee and a folder full of evidence that would destroy her life. She'd texted that morning, "Can't wait to see you. We'll get through this together." Together. The word made me sick. I drove home and waited. Our house sat on a quiet street in the Laurelhurst neighborhood, the kind of place where people walked their dogs and kids rode bikes, and nobody expected mothers to homicide their children for insurance money. At 4:45, Jessica's Honda pulled into the driveway. I watched from the kitchen window as she sat in her car for a long moment, checking her phone, probably texting Marcus. She looked tan and rested. 5 days in paradise while I buried our son. She came through the front door with her suitcase and that smile she used when she wanted something. The same smile she'd given me when we first met, when she'd convinced me to buy this house, when she'd suggested we have a baby. David, honey, I'm so sorry about everything. The timing was terrible, but how was Hawaii? She set down her suitcase. It was work, David. Difficult work. The client was demanding and, show me your tan lines. What? You've been in business meetings for 5 days. Show me your tan lines. She crossed her arms. I don't appreciate your tone, and I don't appreciate you screwing your trainer while I bury our son. The mask slipped. Just for a second, but I saw it. The real Jessica underneath the grieving mother act. I don't know what you think you know. I know about the insurance policy, the one you forged my signature on. Her face went pale under the Hawaiian tan. I know about the money you've been hiding. $40,000 in an account I've never seen. She took a step backward. I know about the antifreeze in Tommy's juice boxes. David, you're scaring me. Good, you should be scared. I pulled out my phone and showed her the photos Tony had taken. Jessica and Marcus on the beach, Jessica and Marcus at dinner, Jessica and Marcus kissing by the hotel pool while their son was in the ground. The medical examiner reopened Tommy's case as a homicide investigation this morning. They found ethylene glycol in his blood. Know what that is, Jessica? She was shaking now. I would never hurt Tommy. He was my baby. He was your payday. You're insane. Grief has made you... Mrs. Chen at the daycare remembers your visits. The special juice boxes you brought. The organic ones that Tommy loved so much. Jessica's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the couch, the same couch where Tommy used to watch cartoons every morning. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, she whispered. There it was, the confession I'd been waiting for. How was it supposed to happen? He was supposed to get sick gradually, like a chronic condition, something that would explain if something happened. But you got impatient. Marcus owed money to dangerous people. They were threatening him. We needed the insurance money fast. So you eliminated our son. It was quick. He didn't suffer. The doctor said cardiac arrest is like going to sleep. I wanted to touch her. Wanted to wrap my hands around her throat and squeeze until she understood what Tommy felt in those last moments. But I'm a cop. I know how to control myself. Instead, I pulled out my phone and stopped the recording app. That was a full confession, Jessica. Premeditated homicide of a child for financial gain. Her eyes went wide. You can't use that in court. I'm your wife. Spousal privilege doesn't apply to crimes against children. And it definitely doesn't apply when you confess to eliminating my son. She lunged for the phone. I pulled it away easily. Jessica was 5'4" and spent more time at yoga class than the gym, despite her trainer boyfriend. David, please. We can work this out. The only thing we're working out is whether you get life in prison or the capital punishment. She started crying then. Big, dramatic sobs that might have moved me 6 months ago, before I knew what she really was. I loved Tommy. I did. But Marcus said we could have other children, better children. We could start over somewhere warm and stop talking. We could disappear, take the insurance money and just go. Got from eliminating our son. When you got from eliminating our son. When you put it like that, how else would I put it? My phone rang. Dr. Vance. Dave, I've got preliminary results on those samples you brought me. And positive for ethylene glycol. High concentrations in both the juice box and the sippy cup. This is definitely homicide. I looked at Jessica while I talked. How long before you can file the official report? I'm writing it now. Should be on the DA's desk by morning. Thanks, Pat. You might have just saved other kids from going through what Tommy did. I hung up and turned back to Jessica. She was texting frantically on her phone. Warning Marcus? I asked, telling him it's over, that we're caught. Good. Save me a phone call. She looked up at me with tears streaming down her face. What happens now? Now you pack a bag. Tomorrow morning, you're going to walk into the DA's office and confess. Full details. Marcus's involvement, the planning, everything. And if I don't, then I release your confession to the media along with the photos from Hawaii. Let the court of public opinion decide your fate. She was quiet for a long time, staring at Tommy's toys scattered around the living room. He really didn't suffer? She asked finally. He trusted you completely, right up until the end. Does that make you feel better or worse? She didn't answer. Pack your bag, Jessica. You've got one night of freedom left. She stood up slowly and walked toward the stairs. At the bottom step, she turned back. For what it's worth, I am sorry about the funeral. I should have been there. You should have been a lot of things. She went upstairs to pack. I sat down in Tommy's chair and looked around the living room that would never hear his laugh again. The toys he'd never play with, the books we'd never read together. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. We need to talk. I texted back, Portland Police Station, tomorrow at 9 a.m. Bring a lawyer. Then I called Tony Ramirez. It's over, Tony. She confessed. Jesus, I'm sorry, Dave. I know this isn't how you wanted it to end. Actually, it's exactly how I wanted it to end. What do you mean? Justice, Tony. Pure and simple. But as I sat there in my empty house, listening to Jessica cry in the bedroom above me, I realized justice wasn't going to bring Tommy back. It wasn't going to fill the silence, or ease the pain, or make any of this make sense. It was just the end of one story and the beginning of another. A story where I'd have to figure out how to live in a world without my son, knowing that the woman I'd loved had eliminated him for money. Some endings aren't happy, some are just final. And sometimes that's enough. The next morning, I woke up to an empty house. Jessica's car was gone, her suitcase missing from the bedroom. She'd run during the night, probably to warn Marcus, or maybe just to disappear entirely. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't even angry. I'd expected this. What I hadn't expected was the phone call at 6 a.m. Mr. Thompson, this is Detective Rodriguez with Hawaii State Police. We have your wife and Marcus Webb in custody. What happened? They tried to board a flight to Mexico last night. Red flags went up when we ran their names. Dr. Vance had already forwarded the homicide report to our department. So Jessica had run, but not far enough. Never far enough. What's the next step? I asked. Extradition. They'll be back in Portland by tomorrow. The DA wants to meet with you this afternoon to discuss the case. District Attorney Sarah Mitchell had been prosecuting major crimes for 15 years. I'd testified in her courtroom dozens of times, but never as the sufferer's father. Her office overlooked the Willamette River, all glass and steel, and the kind of view that reminded you justice was supposed to be bigger than any one person's pain. Dave, I'm sorry for your loss, and I'm sorry it's come to this. Just tell me they'll pay for what they did. With the evidence you've gathered and Jessica's recorded confession, this is as solid a case as I've ever seen. Premeditated homicide, conspiracy, insurance fraud. They're looking at life without parole. Both of them? Marcus is trying to flip. Claims Jessica manipulated him, that he didn't know she was planning to eliminate Tommy. That's probably. But juries sometimes buy the "I was in love and she used me" defense, especially when the defendant looks like a male model. I thought about that. About Marcus walking free while Jessica took the fall alone. About the possibility that my son's butcher might serve 20 years instead of life. What if I could get Marcus to confess too? Sarah raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? I mean, what if he admitted his full involvement? On the record? Dave, you're not a cop on this case. You're a sufferer's family member. You can't interrogate suspects. I'm not talking about interrogation. That afternoon, I visited Marcus in the Multnomah County Jail. He was being held without bail, pending arraignment. The man who'd helped eliminate my son sat across from me in an orange jumpsuit, looking nothing like the fitness model from his Instagram photos. Dave, man, I'm so sorry about Tommy. This whole thing got out of hand. Did it? Jessica, she's not who you think she is. She's manipulative, controlling. She convinced me that you were abusive, that Tommy would be better off. Stop. She said the insurance money would let us start over. One chance to tell the truth. The real one chance to tell the truth. The real truth. Because in about 10 minutes, I'm going to walk out of here, and whatever you've said is going to determine how the rest of your life goes. I am telling the truth. Jessica recorded your conversations. Did you know that? All those planning sessions, all those discussions about the insurance money, she kept recordings as insurance in case you tried to betray her. His face went white. That's not, she wouldn't. She played me one yesterday. Your voice clear as day saying, "The kid has to go. It's the only way we get the money fast enough." It was a lie. Jessica hadn't recorded anything, but Marcus didn't know that. Oh God, oh Jesus. She said she'd protect me. She's protecting herself. You're the expendable one, Marcus. The pretty boy who was useful until he wasn't. What do you want from me? I want you to tell the DA exactly how you planned my son's homicide. Every detail, every conversation, every moment you chose money over the life of a 5-year-old boy. And if I don't, then Jessica's version becomes the official story. The version where you were the mastermind, and she was the sufferer of your manipulation. Marcus put his head in his hands. This wasn't supposed to happen. We were just going to disappear, start over. With my son's blood money, I needed the cash, Dave. I owed people who don't accept late payments. So you eliminated a child. Jessica eliminated him. I just helped plan it. Tell that to the DA. I stood to leave. At the door, I turned back. Marcus, do you have kids? No, oh good. Because if you did, and someone eliminated them for money, you'd understand why I'm going to make sure you never see sunlight again. 2 hours later, Marcus Webb gave a full confession to the district attorney. Every detail of the conspiracy. Every conversation about the insurance money. Every moment they'd chosen greed over my son's life. The trial was set for 6 months later. Both defendants pleaded not guilty despite their confessions, hoping for some miracle that would save them from life sentences. There were no miracles. The trial lasted 3 weeks. I sat in the front row every day, watching 12 strangers decide the fate of my son's butchers. Jessica tried to look remorseful, dabbing her eyes with tissues during testimony about Tommy's final moments. Marcus maintained his story about being manipulated, despite the recorded confession. The jury deliberated for 4 hours, guilty on all counts. Both defendants. Life without parole for Jessica. Life without parole for Marcus. Judge Patricia Hernandez delivered the sentences with the kind of cold finality that reminded everyone why we have courts instead of vigilante justice. You eliminated an innocent child for money, she told them. You planned it, executed it, and showed no remorse until you were caught. You will spend the rest of your lives in prison thinking about what you've done. Jessica started sobbing. Marcus just stared at the floor. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no relief, no closure. Just emptiness, where my son used to be. After the sentencing, I drove to Riverside Cemetery and sat beside Tommy's grave. The headstone was simple. Thomas David Thompson, beloved son, taken too soon. It's over, buddy, I said to the granite marker. They can't hurt anyone else now. The wind rustled through the oak trees overhead. Somewhere in the distance, children were playing at the park. Life going on the way it always does, regardless of individual tragedies. I thought about Jessica starting her first night in a maximum security prison. I thought about Marcus probably crying in his cell. I thought about the life insurance money tied up in legal proceedings and sufferer restitution funds. None of it brought Tommy back. But it was justice. Cold, final, absolute justice. And sometimes that has to be enough. 6 months after the trial, I sold the house in Laurelhurst. Too many memories in every room, too many ghosts in every corner. I bought a small apartment downtown, close to work, with no space for toys or booster seats or the dreams I'd had for my son's future. The life insurance money finally came through after the appeals were exhausted. $500,000, paid for with Tommy's life. I donated every penny to the Children's Hospital of Portland, specifically to their poison control center. If Jessica had wanted to honor Tommy's memory, she could have done worse. I went back to work at the Portland Police Bureau, but something had changed. Every case involving children hit too close to home. Every domestic violence call reminded me that monsters often live in our own houses, sleep in our own beds, kiss us goodnight while planning our destruction. Detective Mills suggested therapy. You've been through hell, Dave. Nobody expects you to just bounce back. She was right, but talking to strangers about my dead son felt like betraying his memory somehow. Tommy had been private, shy around new people. He wouldn't have wanted his story shared with counselors and support groups. Instead, I threw myself into cold cases. Unsolved homicides, missing persons, cases that had been gathering dust while other detectives chased fresh leads. There's something satisfying about bringing justice to forgotten sufferers, about proving that time doesn't erase the need for answers. I solved 6 cold cases in my first year back, made the local news twice, got commendations from the chief and recognition from sufferer advocacy groups. None of it filled the hole in my chest where my son used to live. On Tommy's birthday, what would have been his 7th, I drove to the prison where Jessica was serving her sentence. Maximum security, concrete walls, and razor wire, in the kind of place where child butchers don't last long without protective custody. I didn't visit her, didn't want to see her face or hear her voice or give her the satisfaction of knowing she still had any power over my life. I just sat in the parking lot for an hour, looking at the place where she'd spend the rest of her days and tried to feel something. Satisfaction, revenge, closure, anything that would make sense of the past year. I felt nothing. That night, I got drunk for the first time since Tommy's funeral. Really drunk, the kind of drunk that makes you text people you shouldn't text and say things you shouldn't say. I texted Jessica's sister, Karen. Your sister eliminated my son for money. Hope you can live with that. I texted Marcus's mother. Raised a butcher. Hope you're proud. I texted my ex-partner, Mills. Some cases don't have happy endings. Some just end. In the morning, I deleted the messages and apologized to everyone. But the words were true, even if they were cruel. Some cases don't have happy endings. Some just end. A year later, I was working a missing person case, a teenage girl who disappeared from a party in Gresham, when I got the call from the prison warden. Detective Thompson, I wanted to inform you that Jessica Thompson was found dead in her cell this morning. I set down my coffee. How? Self-destruction, bedsheet noose. She left a note. What did it say? Just 3 words. I'm sorry, Tommy. I thanked the warden and hung up. Around me, the bullpen continued its normal chaos. Months. Who'd screwed her trainer while I buried my boy? She was gone. I waited for the satisfaction to hit, for the sense of cosmic justice, of scales finally balanced. It never came. Instead, I felt tired. Bone-deep, soul-crushing tired. The kind of exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix and vacation doesn't cure. Marcus was still alive, serving his sentence in the state penitentiary, still maintaining his innocence, still claiming Jessica had manipulated him. He'd probably die in prison, forgotten and unlamented. That should have been enough. Justice served, debts paid, the guilty punished, but Tommy was still dead. That was the thing nobody told you about revenge, about justice, about getting the bad guys. It doesn't bring back what you've lost. It doesn't fill the empty spaces or heal the broken places or make the world make sense again. It just ends one story so you can try to start another. I finished the missing person case, Found the girl safe with relatives in Seattle, just a scared kid who'd run away from problems that seemed bigger than they were. Her parents cried when I called with the news. Happy tears, grateful tears, the kind of tears I'd never get to cry again. That night, I went to Tommy's grave with a bottle of his favorite apple juice. The real kind, not the poison kind Jessica had used to eliminate him. "Hey, buddy," I said to the headstone. "Mommy's gone now. She can't hurt anyone else." The cemetery was quiet except for the sound of traffic on the distant highway. Other graves stretched out in neat rows, other stories of love and loss and the arbitrary cruelty of existence. "I miss you every day," I told him. "I miss your laugh and your dinosaur obsessions and the way you used to steal my bacon at breakfast." A light rain started falling, the kind of gentle Oregon drizzle that makes everything look softer and sadder. "I don't know how to do this without you. I don't know how to be happy or hopeful or any of the things dads are supposed to be." The rain picked up. I should have left, should have gone home to my empty apartment and my cold dinner and the television shows that helped fill the silence. Instead, I sat there in the rain talking to my dead son about the woman who'd eliminated him and the justice that didn't satisfy and the future that stretched ahead like an empty highway. "But I'm going to try, Tommy. I'm going to try to be the kind of man you'd be proud of, the kind of dad you deserved." I poured the apple juice on his grave and walked back to my car. Behind me, the headstone gleamed in the rain. Thomas David Thompson, beloved son. Taken too soon. Some stories don't have happy endings. Some just end. But some endings are also beginnings. And maybe, if I was lucky, this could be both. Justice had been served. The guilty were punished. My son could rest in peace. Now I had to figure out how to live with mine.